Increasing Opportunities to Respond by Halee. We have the table of contents with an introduction, explanation, how, why, who, where and when, examples, and the work cited. To start off, we have response cards for our opportunities to respond. Here we have a video from YouTube with some amazing teachers who can explain response cards and help you get a better understanding right away. But I'm going to explain it myself. So we're going to dive into how response cards are used. First off, I would like to say that there are two different types of response cards. We have the pre-printed and write-on. Pre-printed usually are the true, false, yes, no, pictures, and color-coded. And then we also have write-on, which are usually whiteboards and laminated paper with expo markers and a old t-shirt that you can use to erase the answers from. And teachers will usually ask students learning a subject to get out their response cards / devices and either write out or point/pinch to the proper responses. The idea is to increase class and student participation and independence, which independence for each student is the key in the classroom. Now, why are response cards helpful? See, response cards help students produce correct answers independently, as we've already stated, and they can be guides to the teacher as to navigate moving on in the subject or reteaching, as sometimes students just need a little more information about the subject before moving on. A great example is in math class and the addition. Some students at the younger ages definitely know and understand simple addition, like 7 plus 3 equals 10. But once you add like 17 plus 3, that can be a little bit more difficult. So sometimes we have to take a step back and make sure that they understand the basics before continuing on. Now, a big question that's asked with response cards is, who is it made for? And the answer is both students and teachers. See, students use these resource cards to help with their educational growth, and teachers use them to help with their development of the students' understanding. So they actually kind of go hand in hand together. But they also help in all grade levels. So response cards can be used K through 12, and they can be used in a general education class all the way to a fine arts class, such as choir and band and math. Now, response cards were originated by teachers. They noticed that the same students were answering all the questions being asked in the classroom. Now, as it is great to have students answering these questions that the teachers are giving, it's not effective if those same students don't allow the others to have a chance. This creates dependency from those students who are not answering the questions, and that is not what we're looking for. We are, of course, looking for independence. Response cards are used in classroom engagement and class understanding. We've talked a lot about the classroom understanding from the teacher's point of view. And the classroom engagement, it's used to help students work together or work more independently together. So let's say we are in a classroom full of choir students and we're working on rhythm. So instead of having the teacher go one by one down the row, having them figure out a way to use quarter notes and eighth notes, the teacher can have whiteboards available for each student to be able to write out their own rhythm in a quick and effective manner. Last, we have examples. Example A is Miss Teacher is using whiteboards to work on vocabulary. She has all the students write out the spelling of the word ladder, Ladder, on the whiteboard, and then once everyone is ready, she has all her students show their whiteboard to her to see if they understand the spelling of the vocab words. Is this a good or bad example of the response cards? This is considered a good example of the response cards because it shows that the teacher is using the whole entire class as a community to receive the answer instead of calling on one person. It's building independence. Now, example B is Mr. Teacher is using response cards to a yes or no question in English class. He has all the students pinch yes or no, but still calls on one student to share their answer. Is this an example of good or bad use of the response cards? This is actually an example of bad use of the response cards. And I'll explain. See, Mr. Teacher is using the response cards, yet because he is only calling on one student to get the answer, it's considered bad because it's using dependence from that one student instead of independence from all the students. My last slide, of course, is works cited. I use increasing opportunities for student responding, response cards in the classroom by Shauna Heff, and Teacher Toolkit, Students Response Form, the high school, by Samantha Kanzler to help me with this project. Thank you for listening.